All right, Ollie, why should we automate logistics?
Yeah, Matthias, there are many reasons for that. There are reasons that are pretty obvious and other ones that are not so obvious.
And this is exactly why we kick off our podcast with this first episode on reasons for automation. So hang on and join us for this first episode.
Automation Awakenings, your weekly dose of best practices for logistics automation.
Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of our podcast. Together with me is Ollie here in our little office studio, and I'm really happy that we are starting with this very, very basic but very important topic at the same time.
Yeah, Matthias, I'm also excited because we are kicking off, I think, a whole collection of interesting episodes, and we are directly starting with the most important topic, why?
Exactly. Always start with the why, and that's why my first question, Ollie, is what is your top one reason for logistics automation?
Well, I already told you there are some obvious reasons, but we can dive into them as well today. And first of all, we have to talk about money. Yeah,
True.
It's always about money. Every company, every enterprise wants to increase their revenue and decrease their costs.
Correct.
Yeah, and if we look on logistics, the costs are hidden in labor, of course. A lot. The biggest part of logistics costs are labor costs.
Mm.
And how can you decrease them? How can you optimize them? Through automation. What sounds pretty obvious is, from my point of view, the main reason why we automate.
So you're saying we are doing it first and foremost for cost-saving reasons, and most of these savings are basically sitting in labor, and this is where you want to try to tackle with automation technologies like software solutions, like hardware solutions. Is there, maybe for our listeners, is there some kind of example you could provide on that? I mean, like, what's the ratio? Like, what do you have to do to really get a nice return on invest?
Yeah, that's a typical question. And, many people are asking us. And I have a good example here. So let's take a very simple example from practice. Imagine a forklift operator.
Okay.
Yeah, his main task is to move pallets.
A to B, just driving the whole day,
A
right?
to B. And, this is a typical role in logistics.
Yeah.
And you see it in every warehouse. All right, so he's driving these pallets from A to B, and now you would like to automate this task.
Mm.
And how can we do that? We will use some mobile robots. For example, Underwriter.
Okay.
They can just pick up these pallets and transport them from A to B.
Okay.
And I think we will talk in our next episodes further about different types of robots. But for today, let's take this Underwriter example. And depending, of course, on the local salary, it will pay off earlier or later. But to give a hands-on example, this Underwriter costs, including charger, software and project costs, around 40,000 euros.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying I need to spend these 40K euro to make this AGV really run, and to also keep it running, basically, right? By having all periphery you want to see.
Absolutely. And now let's assume even we need two of them. Yeah, because the task is not so simple, or you have a longer route or something like that. So let's assume even two of them. We are talking about 80,000 euros. And these costs pay off after 1 year and a couple of months, let's say in mid to high cost locations.
Mm. So you're saying basically two of these mobile robots can save you one forklift driver. And this is where you start the calculation. This is where the ROI comes from. And as you say, depending on the country, you are moving somewhere around 2 years, right? Which is a really great ROI, I would say.
Exactly. Now I can imagine that some of our listeners are already doing the math with their salary in their country. And I'm curious to get also this feedback from you. But from our experience, it pays also in low-cost countries. So
totally agree.
Yeah, automation is for everyone, as we always say.
Correct. And I think another reason why cost-saving measures in logistics are so important is that it's basically safeguarding competitiveness in logistics. Why? Because logistics is actually a really low-margin business in comparison to other businesses like software or manufacturing. And, each cent you can really save on per unit or per movement or whatever is really making a big difference from my experience. And I think that this is why the logistics sector is basically listed as one of the major areas for automation, also according to, for example, McKinsey. So I think this is really adding up here. And and the cost savings are basically created by this efficiency gain with your labor, with your crew, right? Where you really save heads by using mobile robots or software.
Yes. One sad truth you learn about logistics at the very beginning, that you are a cost driver, and no customer is willing to pay that you are transporting pallets from A to B. So you are already, when you are starting with logistics, under cost pressure.
You already suck.
Yeah, that's really the point. And to gain a competitive advantage is a big issue for all people working in logistics.
All right. I think this one is quite clear. It's one of the obvious ones. What else do you have, Olli?
Yeah, well, when thinking about current generations of mobile robots, they can be really quickly implemented. Yeah, so not like some time ago or 20 years ago. Some of you will know that these projects took a long time, and these, let's call them robots, but they were pretty inflexible, and they only could do a simple task and always the same. Now with our new generation, we have some cool features which lead to flexibility and adaptability. Meaning, if I have such a mobile robot in my plant, it will run, first of all, 24/7, without getting bored, doing his job, fulfilling the requirements, and can adapt to the current needs. So if I have a strong demand, a lot of pallets to be sent, for example, he can work faster, or he can new further robots can be added to the fleet pretty easily, and you're always ready, and every logistics guy, manager knows that this flexibility is very valuable.
So you're saying basically that the offer or the supply of technologies is or has reached a certain level of maturity, which is really basically calling for implementing it, right? Because when comparing to the previous times, we now have these really easy to be implemented solutions at hand, which are tested and proven in the field thousands of times, and which really bring a quite quick benefit that we just discussed a couple of seconds ago.
Absolutely. And you can scale this benefit very fastly. You can start easy, like we discussed, my super easy example, moving pallets from A to B. You can add further robots, further types of robots, and slowly, you can transform your logistics towards automation.
Cool. I have another reason, which might be somewhere in between obvious and unobvious, or not so obvious.
Okay.
So I would also bring in resilience. So the resilience of your operation will definitely increase when you use robots, because obviously most of them do not get sick. Most of them do not quit the jobs. Most of them do not need to be replaced, at least not in certain intervals. And since we discussed this demand of, or this term of return on invest, it's one of my favorite topics. Olli is already laughing. We have to also move away from this very commercial, let's say, perspective on it. So we should not only take the commercial benefits, but also take a look into the future and rather take ROI as a risk of inaction, which means for me, I'm making sure that my operations are running smooth, no matter if I'm having a shortage of, for example, forklift drivers, which we see a lot in Europe these days. If we have a pandemic, which, doesn't allow people to come to work for certain reasons, or if I have really a high fluctuation of demand due to VUCA world, all of this can really be tackled with these robots because they are super adaptable, they're available, and they're going to help to make your logistics operations way more resilient than with humans, I would say. What's your view?
Absolutely. This brings me to a similar point I had on my list. And this is precision and reduction of picking errors. Humans, as you said, they are making errors. It's by nature, and especially working long hours in a warehouse, it's a really tough job. And sometimes you need to read very small letters on some labels without the proper lighting. And it's really hard.
Yeah.
And what happens that people make mistakes, they pick the wrong box, and this leads to a lot of inefficiency and also might impact the quality. And we increase the risk of having wrong parts at the end in our final product, which would be a disaster, which again leads to cost, of course, but also can have an impact on the reputation and so on. So a huge risk is involved here. And what robots do very well, they do always the same in a precise way, very accurate.
Repetitive work, basically.
Exactly. They do it, and after 8 hours, 12 hours, they will continue working in this precise way. They will read the barcode, and only then they will transport the box, for example.
Yeah.
Or if they cannot read it, they will bring it to a certain place.
Yeah.
But the risk of failure is reduced a lot.
Totally agree. And I would even add to this another reason, which I have on my list, which is connected to this in a way. I think with automation, you can also help to improve the quality of jobs, to prevent people from reading small letters in a badly lighted warehouse for 8 hours, and train them and make them do something more interesting, something maybe more fulfilling as well. So that could also be a reason, which is not one of the obvious ones. But I strongly believe that automation, let's say, won't kill all of these people job-wise. So they won't stay on the streets, They'll just get trained to become something else. And I strongly believe that this new job will be more fulfilling than what they do today if you watch them really doing the same stuff a whole shift for 8 hours, which to me would be really a nightmare. And I really I'm totally impressed how people can do some of these tasks with such a precision still.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only confirm what you are saying. And I'm also strongly believing that automation will not fire people.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. We have much better possibilities. We have much more interesting jobs. And honestly, no one is interested in transporting a pallet a couple of 100 meters day by day. Yeah, that's not what humans are made for, I believe. Yeah,
totally agree.
We are made for creative, smart tasks, and these robots make it possible now for us, to manage them, to improve their work, to work on the processes. So I can only confirm, and I can bring another factor here, and that's safety.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Not only that the work will get more interesting, but it's just safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. a properly equipped robot with sensors, cameras, what you need, will operate safely within your warehouse. It will stop as soon as a human is passing by or is standing in front of it. And it can also take over dangerous tasks, like picking from a high rack from a very high area, for example, which is the final boss of every forklift driver. I don't know if you ever tried to pick a pallet from 10 meters high.
Did you?
I failed, actually.
You failed?
I couldn't do it.
Okay.
No, I tried. And, you never think about how tough this is. You look up and you only see the lights from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And you don't see anything.
So you're just actually blinded while doing this job.
I was blinded and I was afraid that the pallet will fall down. So I said, no, sorry, I'm
totally.
too afraid. And I let the professional forklift driver doing this job.
Yeah.
Although the pallet was empty. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They put on purpose a pallet of empty boxes there because, they were already afraid that it will fall down probably. And I didn't want to destroy some products or components.
That's certainly a fun fact about Olli for all our listeners. While Olli was a logistics manager in a plant, he also did the forklift driver's license, which I highly appreciate because he knows what he's talking about, at least to a certain extent. And it's good to have these insights also in our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe moving to another not so obvious reason for automation would be transparency of operations. So I know from experience and as a fact that most logistics managers in plants or production sites have actually no idea what the forklift drivers are doing the whole day. Maybe you can also relate a little bit to your previous function on this, Olli. But that's what I see when I'm out at the customer sites. So they have no idea. And if they have no idea, they have no KPIs. And what is even worse, they have no data pool for the operations. So whatever they want to improve is basically a black box, So what happens is that they tend to do nothing because simply they have no clear view on what to tackle, where to start, which options they have, which opportunities are there. And this is all due to the reason that no one really knows what's going on. No one knows how much is transported from A to B to C to D in a plant. And I see this as a major benefit for all kinds of automation activities, because what you have to do is to really digitize your ordering process, right? Otherwise, a robot or a software won't help you. And with this step of digitizing your order, you will automatically create a footprint or a database of your operations on a day-to-day basis. And data is the new oil, right? As people say.
Absolutely. And I have another nice sentence for you.
Oh.
Yes. Automation has no mercy.
That's a nice one, yeah.
Yeah. And why is that? Because a robot will stop operating if there is an error or something strange in the process. And this is what I really love about robots. Just to give you another example of the daily life of a physical logistics manager. Yeah, you have your goods receipt processes. You receive labels from your suppliers. And sometimes these labels, they're not correct. Some information is missing. Yeah. What happens if you have a human there?
Yeah.
He will have a look on the label. Something is maybe wrong. He will quickly reprint it.
Yeah.
Attach it, and then store it to the warehouse, for example.
Yeah.
That's good. Problem solved. But you will never come into the continuous improvement loop with that. Yeah. You will solve the error day by day in the same way, and you will lose time. And this is what I like about automation. A robot will stop. He will just say, I cannot read the barcode.
Yeah.
And somebody has to do something. And it's visible. You see it in the system that the robot stops every day 5 times because of supplier XYZ didn't print the label properly, for example. Yeah. And here it's the start of the continuous improvement cycle. And this comes automatically with these projects. And many people are not thinking about it. They are starting with the return on investment calculation, where they see how much money I can save. But nobody's talking about quality, process improvements, and so on.
Correct. And that's a major pillar to really move on with your organization and, do continuous improvement work to get more efficient and more cost sensitive in the end. All right. So time is coming to an end. It was a quick one. Very nice.
Already?
Yes.
I had so many further reasons.
Yeah, but the episode today is about the top reasons. So,
right, that's true, yeah.
So let's stick to the top reasons. I think most of them are mentioned. However, I do not want to exclude the option to maybe record another episode in the future on some even more hidden reasons. So just let us know if you are interested. And maybe before we end, let's have a really quick summary on what these top reasons were, Olli.
Yes, absolutely. So let's start with the most obvious one, money. We want to save money. Yeah, of course.
Totally agree. Another one we definitely had was the topic of resilience, right? So making your operations more stable, more reliable, and adaptable to VUCA.
Absolutely. And this goes together with precision and accuracy,
which was joined by transparency. So creating a database of what you do, when you do, and how you do it.
Exactly. Automation with no mercy, but with increased safety.
Correct. And that was another big one that we had in today's discussion, which was then also rounded up with a bit of the discussion we had on the quality of jobs, right? So improving the work life of blue collars, basically. And I think that's pretty much it. So this is our list of the top reasons that came to our mind.
And now we are interested, of course, of your opinion. What are your reasons to automate? We are very curious.
Let us know. I think it's a journey we are taking together. All of us working in this sector, and the best thing we can do is learn from each other. So, thank you so much for joining this first episode. Make sure to follow us on all available podcast platforms, and of course, also on LinkedIn.
Yeah, looking forward to your comments and feedback. I hope, we had an interesting first episode.
See you next Monday. Goodbye.
See you. Goodbye.
This was another episode of the Automation Awakenings podcast. Visit us at automation-awakenings.com.